please seek professional help.
Yeah.
Don't say Angelica, your student, the whole street will know that this
Very,
person
very
touched you
important.
and not traumatized.
Very,
Go
very
seek
important.
professional help where you know it's confidential. You know, someone you know that when you express yourself, when you talk to them about things that hurt you in the past, you know it's confidential. No third party. It's very important. Don't say I said seek help. Then you go and tell your mother, you tell your brother, one neighbor, and traumatize them with your story. I don't tell you so.
And because they also need to heal them to the one tell somebody else your story. And the cycle goes on. And then one day you're sitting in your house and then you're like, how is that auntie now? And you'll be wondering, how did your story become community? Because as you try to seek help, remember, there's a help, there's gist. If you gist your friend have a right to gist other people. It's not everybody that understands boundaries. Does your past affect your present? How does trauma or childhood trauma affect your adult relationships? I know that a lot of psychologists have said one or two things about how what you have from your childhood is unresolved, and that's why sometimes it explains your attachment styles, it explains how you choose your partners, it explains your trauma responses. And today's video, I'm being joined by a psychologist, Ogechi, and we'll be discussing how in our current dating sphere, it explains why sometimes we want to run away from conversations. Sometimes we are so afraid that we don't want to give in to the next person. Vulnerability seems like such a big deal to us. Are you aware that it is because you probably have suffered from one childhood trauma or the other? And I know when you hear trauma, it seems like this very big thing, but trauma is not sometimes only from abuse. It could be from a couple of other things that this psychologist that we're going to have on the show is going to explain to us. I know that I haven't had a guest in a very long time, but I assure you that this video today is going to be content packed. If you have been struggling with one thing or the other, you don't even know why you behave the way that you behave. Your behaviors as an adult is as a result of something that you grew up with. When we come back from the short break, you get to meet the guest. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. My name is Maranatha. If you don't already know me, there's a problem with you. And the problem is that you have not subscribed. If you have subscribed, you will know that my name is the name on this channel. Hi, Ogechi. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm so happy that you were able to make out time today.
Oh, well, thank you. I had to squeeze you in. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. Like I said before, we're talking about childhood trauma and how that affects our relationship as adults. Whether it is friendship, whether it is romantic relationship. But I think people would like to know, what is trauma and in what ways can trauma actually manifest in people?
Well, from my own knowledge, I feel that trauma breeds everything negative in the life of a person, even down to being a child. Now, I would like to use myself as an example.
All right.
Okay. Now, growing up, I had a lot of traumas that I didn't even know were traumas. I just felt, being a child now, it's just me being a child. So waiting concern that one concern my life.
Exactly.
Understand? Now, becoming an adult, I got to understand that I had a lot of unresolved traumas. And those were really deep-rooted childhood traumas. They affected my relationships, my social skills, interacting with people. I found it very difficult to express myself. My mom used to be this very uptight, rigid, African mothers, Nigerian mothers.
Yes, I'm sure that a lot of us can relate to this story very, very well.
Being a first daughter, you're automatically an assistant mother.
Yes, there's that assumption.
Not by choice.
Yes.
Not by choice.
By force.
It's your birthright. So they believe if I don't train you well, your younger ones will be useless.
Right.
I didn't choose it too. I never wanted it. I just came into it.
Right.
And because of that, I was scared of my mom because she was always, do it this way, don't do it that way. Where are you? Who is that boy you're standing with? Hey! That affected me. Yeah. I was so scared of my mom that I couldn't express myself. She would do something that would hurt me. I couldn't talk to her because I was scared.
Right.
I'll be hurting. I don't know how to express it.
Right.
because there was no room
For
for
dialogue.
that. Yes, to talk to your mom and tell her, Mom, this thing you said to me hurts me. In her own mind, she's actually training you. She's trying to be a good mother.
Mhm.
But in so doing, she's actually hurting your inner child, and she's making you, recoil.
Mhm.
So I grew up not knowing what that meant.
Mhm.
And I got into a relationship. As of that time,
Mhm.
I found it difficult to tell the person that I was dating then that I loved the person.
Now, from everything she has explained, you can tell that every one of us have trauma, right? And trauma is simply unresolved issues or things that have happened to you a very long time ago that you probably suppressed, and now you're exhibiting certain behaviors. You don't know where it's coming from. And so, like she said, she got into a relationship and she realized that that power of expression had been suppressed because of her relationship with her mother. So that is one thing that trauma makes a person do. How you can tell as an adult that you have trauma is sometimes sitting down with yourself and asking yourself, why exactly am I doing this thing? And sometimes trauma can, be expressed or manifest in things like from things like neglect, things like abandonment, things like trust issues, things like not being able to express yourself. There's the fear of, what if I tell this person that I love them and then they took hand from my eye? Literally,
break my heart.
Yes, literally. So how would I survive that?
Keep to myself.
Exactly.
I withhold my emotions. I don't let
Exactly.
anybody break my heart.
Exactly. So how did you come to know that your inability to express yourself to the person you loved was as a result of trauma? How did you get to that point?
Okay. Well, I had to do
a soul search
on myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And I discovered, because at the time, it's very important that you pay close attention to patterns. If it happens with 1, 2, 3 person, then you have to just
sit with yourself
and search within yourself. What is the problem? Because you might sometimes think the person you're dating or whoever is the problem, but sometimes you're actually the problem.
Right.
It's sad, but it's actually the truth.
Right.
And your ability to sit and have that conversation within yourself, then you would notice that, okay, I think something is wrong. I might be the problem. And when you do that, you begin to find out that, is it because when I don't, okay, if I say it like this, I feel he will go away. I feel that is trauma.
Right.
Abandonment issue, vulnerability. What if I express myself? I tell this person I care about them and they don't reciprocate. You recoil. All the things are past traumas, either from family, relationships. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Trauma can be triggered from anything.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we all move around as adults claiming that we are okay.
Right.
We are fine. And it's crazy how you tell some people that it could be as a result of past trauma, like trauma.
Yes.
Trauma.
Yes.
Sister, yes.
Yes.
You have unresolved trauma.
Yeah, there are some obvious forms of trauma. Like if you meet a person, the person tells you, oh, I suffered neglect from my parents. I was a child who nobody really cared about. Middle children usually have this problem of neglect. So they focus on you, the firstborn, like you said, they focus on the lastborn, but the middle children are always, being neglected. Yes. And so most times they grow up being on their own, being very self-sufficient. And so when they meet a person, it starts to translate into their relationship. There's also another one, like abuse in whatever form, whether it is in sexual, meaning that maybe as a child you had a close family friend sexualize you or something. So these are like very obvious abuses that can cause a trauma in a person. So when you meet people, it's easier for them to say, I think you are traumatized by this thing. Or you lost a parent when you were really young and you never really got to deal with that. When you tell somebody, it's easier for them to draw the line. The problem as adults is that sometimes we think, because I didn't suffer all these deep issues, I was never raped, I was never molested, I never had abandonment issues, I never suffered neglect, you think you're ahead or you're higher than trauma. Trauma doesn't have to be such big things. If as an adult, you are realizing that to sit down and have a conversation scares you, you're suffering from trauma. If somebody telling you the truth of how they feel to your face makes you start to run away, you've experienced one form of trauma or the other. And so whether you suffered childhood trauma when you were growing up, or it may be that, the first person you ever dated broke your heart. And so now your response as an adult to a sexual relationship would be fight, flight, or freeze. So these three things are the ways we react, is our behavior towards trauma. The first thing I want us to take is every single one of us has trauma. There's something you've experienced that if you check your behavior right now, there's a reason why you are building up walls. There's a reason why you don't want to let anybody in. There's a reason why you are being very strong. You think you have to be the strongest amongst everybody. All of these things are as a result of unresolved issues. First of all, there's a thing with knowing that I have a problem.
Yes.
There's another thing with, how do I solve this problem? Yeah. So did you ever get to solve the problem? And sometimes I've also learned that solving the problem sometimes is not confronting the problem.
Most times.
Yes. Sometimes it is not confronting the problem. But I think maybe it's also another trauma response when you don't confront the problem and you suppress it, but you haven't really let it go.
Yeah.
So did you ever have a conversation with your mom? How did you get to resolve that? Was that ever a thing that happened between the both of you?
Well, growing up, now becoming a full-grown woman, I got to understand that, okay, so far, so good. My past relationships with people, even in the dating,
Yes, fair.
This was actually as a result of past traumas.
Right.
Yeah. I never confronted my mom.
Okay.
So, but I just did the self-healing on my own.
On your own. Okay.
And learned that my mom is actually a human being.
Exactly.
I got to understand that she did all those things she did out of love, and in her head she's trying to train me to be the best version of myself. In as much as at a point it affected me, but I did that self-healing within myself. Forgive my mom because she's not perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, and tried as a person and as a human being to look for ways to do better in my relationships with people. I became more open, more vulnerable, more expressive, because I got to understand that you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't withdraw from people and expect them to be all open to you. It's a two-way thing. So growing up now, being an adult, being matured, got to understand that, me being so, when it comes to expressing my feelings, being vulnerable, I'm so scared, I don't want to talk about it. All those things are triggers from the past. And as a result of that, now that I know better, I'm more vulnerable, I'm more open, and trust me,
it's been better for you.
Decision ever.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing you said about your mother being human and not being, so I know that as adults now, there were things that we thought our parents knew. Because they were our parents and we were children, they're supposed to know this thing. Now you're an adult. Why are you making mistakes as an adult? Right? So the point I'm getting at is this: our parents didn't know better. A lot of them trained us with what they thought was the best way to raise children. And so I'm not making excuses for all types of traumas. I'm making an excuse for your particular type of trauma, which I can also relate to in a way. And so many people can relate to this thing where the parents are the militants, they give orders and children are supposed to follow the order without really understanding or explaining to the children why they are doing what they are doing. And so because our parents didn't know a lot better.
Gentle parenting.
Yes.
It's not in the agenda.
Yes, exactly. So they raised us the best that they could. And so what we can do for ourselves in this generation, because we are now learning and relearning and unlearning what we thought was the best, I feel like it's our responsibility to shed off the trauma and go into our own life now with what we are now learning as the best way to deal with them, right? And now what I want to ask you is, because of the way that trauma has a very direct correlation with our attachment style, right? Attachment styles are how we relate with people, whether we like it or not. All of us are going around with traumas, right? But some people have, like you, have resolved their issues, or they've found ways to live with it. But how it begins to change or affect our behavior is until you jam somebody, right? And so when you meet somebody, you now need to start asking yourself, which of these attachment styles am I exhibiting right now? And I know that because the other person is also human, they may start exhibiting triggers without necessarily knowing that, this thing is going to affect you, or your response to them right now is because you're feeling triggered by that thing that happened to you a long time ago and is now looking similar, right? So there are 4 attachment styles. Is either you're secure, or you're being avoidant, or you're being disorganized. A person can never be trauma-free. That's not the matter. We have learned to live with the trauma. Sometimes some resolve, some unresolved. And so can you, tell us how you were able to, was it something the person did? Was it assurances from, the person you want to be in a romantic relationship with? Or was it something you had to do on your own first of all before meeting, these people?
Okay. Well, for me, I think I have avoidance.
Attachment style.
Because I don't know for a reason. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But you see, emotionally unavailable men. Hey, God. They show me Pepe. They have shown me Pepe. And because of that, I'm avoidant. Even when someone comes. Now, one would say, okay, with the exposure you've had concerning traumas, you're supposed to be trauma-free. Now, lie. Even as an adult, people might still come into your life and still traumatize you.
Because it's exhibiting our behavior
as human beings.
Yes.
And the next person might not know that particular attitude traumatized you.
Yes.
Not one person, not 2 persons, all of a sudden you become avoidant.
I'd like to add that, are you guys aware that being a people pleaser, having the thing you just said now, unavailable, being with unavailable men, are you aware that is also a trauma response?
Yes, so
because you are scared of the other shoe dropping. So instead of being with a person who is constantly available for you, you choose a person who is emotionally unavailable. So you can have a reason to say, see why you don't work.
Hell.
So we self-sabotage. If you're from a broken home, you're already thinking, Shebi, my mama, my papa, it didn't work out between them. So you constantly keep falling in love with people, or you keep having affection for people who are emotionally unavailable. It's not because you did not see it from the beginning, but you already set yourself up for destruction, so that you have a reason to say, "I don't do it again. They don't traumatize me."
Right now, I'm at this phase of my life that I just want to just calm down, try to discern on my own that okay, this guy, he wants to be here. He's emotionally available. He's a secured man.
Yeah.
You understand? Okay, I'll give it a try. Because someone might just come, now I like you, I feel you're a wonderful woman, I want to not lie. You are lying. Timothy, you're a liar. So because of that,
did you just mention me?
I don't know any Timothy, but I'm just
what the hell is Timothy? Timothy, report yourself.
So that's like my own defense mechanism.
Right.
Avoidance attachment, because I don't want it to repeat itself again. I don't want to be hurt. Let me just stay first.
Right. What I want us to focus more on now is, we know that this thing is in the past, whether it was, when it happened when you were a child, or your early adult years, or maybe even last year. Past is still past. Yesterday is past, right? Now we're in the present. We understand how trauma can affect our adult relationships now, because it translates into everything that we do. It is you not trusting a person. It is you people pleasing because you are scared that the person will run away. It is you being, oh my God, I only love emotionally unavailable men because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, or I'm looking at somebody I'm with one eye closed, one eye open, like I'm on my leg day here, one leg day here. The moment it does something like this, you are running away because why? you don't want to even get to the point where you are discussing this thing or understanding, oh, maybe you misunderstood why this person did this thing. Now, as adults, we know that some of our behaviors are as a result of most of the triggers that we have dealt with in the past. But how do we move forward?
As a human being, recognizing that you have trauma.
Right.
Recognizing those things that triggers you. When it happens, you're triggered. You begin to look for a way out. You begin to recall. Recognizing that you have a trauma.
And that behavior is not normal.
Yes. You know that, okay, when things like this come up, why do I act in this certain way? Why do I get so defensive? Why do I recall? Why do I shield my vulnerability? That is you recognizing first
there's
that
already
you have
a problem.
A trauma.
Yes.
It triggers you. Like, you notice that it's no more your normal behavior. You begin to act differently. It's not once, it's not twice. That is you recognizing you have a trauma.
All right.
That is one way. That is one first step in healing from your traumas.
Right.
Then addressing it. You know, many of us are not bold enough to address those traumas, to confront those traumas.
Right. It's easier. I feel like it's easier to say, yeah, I know I have a problem, but we know solve the problem.
I don't feel accepting like that. Make you not accept. My sister, no.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Yeah.
If that's your friend decided that she was going to bring her traumas into your friendship, will you still be there?
Exactly.
If that guy brings in his traumas, will you still be there? So what makes you think, if you as an individual recognizes that you have a trauma, what makes you feel that
you don't need to address it?
Yeah. So it won't affect another person. Because many of us are walking around this world traumatizing other people. Because we failed to recognize and address our traumas. And you project it onto the next person.
Right.
Because most times what traumatizes people is not are not birds, plants.
Yes, it is we humans that traumatize each other.
Our actions, choice of words, behavior.
Right.
You know, are things that can also traumatize the next person. My friendship, as an example, I've always been one to shield, or should I say, to recoil from confrontations. Like, I hate confrontations. Especially when I do something wrong and my friends are calling me out on it. I beg. This thing you did, the next time I'm already opening the door. Is that the way to have a conversation?
Yes. Remember when I said earlier that our responses to trauma are flight, fight, or freeze? Now she does everything.
I fight, I flight, I take off, and I freeze. That was the best way I felt was the best approach in handling confrontation from friends. Right. Especially when I know I wronged them, I did something wrong, and they're calling me out on it. I hate to be confronted. So when it happens like that, I just walk away. When my friends kept calling me out on my bullshit, and I noticed that, take it or leave it, is hard though, but I know that I have to work on myself. I know that I cherish my friendship. So we advanced. I will stay there. We'll be having the conversation. I will take a pillow and cover myself because I'll be hearing if I don't want to sing. How bad I hate the confrontations. Then I'll cover myself with a pillow. Can you hear me? I'm hearing you now. Be talking. Either way, healing must occur. And gradually, it started advancing to me sitting down and listening. Because then I had a problem with sitting down and also wanting to talk back to defend myself.
Right.
Because many of us do that and we don't understand that.
I think I'm also very, very guilty of that, actually.
You don't want to listen.
Yes, I find that while I would listen because I'm very confrontational, right? I never shy away from that. But I know that it's also probably a defense mechanism because I know that when somebody says something to me, I want to prove a point that there was a reason why this had happened. But sometimes it doesn't help
at all.
It doesn't help
because
you can defend yourself by saying, oh, I didn't mean this thing, but the person you said it into, I've taken the hurt. How does saying, hey, if now you hear I'm that way, no problem, solve the problem? It doesn't solve it. So that's also a defense mechanism.
So gradually, I had to learn to sit and listen and understand from the next person's point
perspective,
of view. Apologize if need be.
Yes. And
Ever since then, it's been amazing because you decide on your own as an individual, you can fix yourself. If you're willing to.
Yes.
Because you're fixing yourself, you're trying to also protect the next person coming into your life.
Exactly.
Most of us don't believe that we need working. Some people, there are people that are moving around the world and need construction. Me, I know I need working. Some of you need construction.
And they don't even know that they
don't
need
know it.
Yes.
When you say we call you break her into pieces because what? It's who I am. Don't do that. You need construction work.
Right.
So understanding, recognizing, addressing, seeking help, reading books is actually a very good way to help heal your past traumas and to make you a better person.
Right. Right.
Doing that, you become a better version of yourself. You find yourself having conversations you enjoy having open conversation with your friends.
And you get a lot more happier.
A more happier person. You become more free.
Right.
When I started learning to let go of all those burdens I carried, I became a better person. I'm able to sit, listen, apologize. It became easier. It's even more burdening to know
keep,
that
you holding them.
You hurt someone and you're still fighting over that.
Personally, like I said before, we've all had our fair share of trauma.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that helped me a lot is that I'm a very self-aware person.
Yeah.
I'm very self-aware. Something cannot happen in my life and you are telling me I think I don't know. I've always been self-aware. And maybe that's also a trauma response, right? Because I got into uni, I grew a lot faster than most of my mates. Because there were things that my classmates wanted to do, and me, I thought it was so childish. Why are you doing those things? Because as a firstborn, I had this, I don't want to say innate ability, because nobody's born with sense. Nobody's born with the ability to help. Nobody's born, even the racism I experience, nobody's born with any of those things. The things that we become, our behavior, all of those things are things that we start to pick from childhood, what people tell us, what our parents try to groom us with, all of those things. So I cannot say that I was born to be a leader. Neither can anybody in the world say that the moment they open their eyes as babies, they already knew they're going to be president of the world. No.
Not true.
Right? So when I got to uni, I already knew that because of the way that I grew up, not just as a firstborn, but because of the circumstances at home, I knew that I had to be this person who was very self-sufficient, start to make decisions for myself. And so by the time I got to uni, people were doing certain things that I felt I was too big for. Not knowing that my inner child died because I was trying to be the bigger person. I was trying to be the person who was, taking charge of the situation and all of that. Between the both of us, we all know that we are all experiencing one form of trauma or the other. So what would be your advice to people out there on firstly how to recognize, that they have this unresolved traumas from the past, and then what they can do to heal themselves?
Okay. Move to the next step of seeking help.
Right.
You can seek a professional counsel, the help of a psychologist that can help you, pull through. You can read books. They're actually nice books.
Self-help books. Yes.
That can actually help you, to navigate through that phase. Confronting the trauma. For some people, for them to heal, they have to go back to that thing that traumatized them.
I just realized that I need to do confrontation because I thought maybe I had let it go, but I didn't. I found out after seeking professional help that I need to go back and sit down. But confronting also has its own ups and downs. Because what you're looking for is resolution. How to get better, how to move past it. If the first thing that comes to your mind in seeking confrontation is not to seek reconciliation, then there's no point to the confrontation.
For some certain kind of traumas.
Yes.
If you're not going back there to confront, reconcile, and heal away from it, there's no point. Especially, but then again, if it's not parental, sometimes you can't find resolution just by speaking to them and all that. But there are some form of abuse that maybe sexual abuse or whatever that you may not even need them to tell you sorry, because sorry is never going to solve anything. But maybe saying it to their face that,
oh, this thing you did to me was you trying to groom me, or this thing you did to me is also a way for you to let go.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, but
True.
you have to first of all draw the line between what are you seeking from this confrontation. Because before, like I said, I'm very confrontational. Before now, when I was in uni, my confronting a person was always to tell them that I was right. Which meant that I didn't leave room for them to explain why what they did had happened or why they acted the way they did. Yeah. So I discovered that being confrontational sometimes is not entirely from a good place. So if you're seeking confrontation for resolution right now, like you're going back to the past, ensure that the reason for that confrontation is that you really 100% need to talk to this person. Otherwise, there's no point.
If there's, like you said, if it's for resolution's sake, like if you feel the best way for you to heal
is to look at that person in the face and say these things, all those things. Fine. But like if you need to go back and then you know that you're going to, if they don't tell you sorry or they don't apologize, you're going to live there with more hurt. I'm so sorry. There's no point for that confrontation. True. A friend of mine said yesterday that what she does is to speak to trees.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So because she sometimes speaks to her husband, sometimes she speaks to other people, but she just goes to a living thing and starts to pour her heart out. And after she says everything, she feels a peace and calm. And she's fine. Wow. So some people go to the mountain to scream. I've done that before. Like I was so pissed about the situation that I went to the top of the mountain and I screamed. And then I came back home and
that's therapeutic.
So, but you have to find for yourself what works. But before you get that help, accept that you have a problem. Yeah. Acknowledge that this thing is hurting you, because whether you like it or not, traumas stop us from moving forward. The other person you are in that friendship or relationship with is wondering, why is that person moving mad? Maybe today you are hot, tomorrow you are cold. It is attachment style. So do you have any last words?
Well,
we've said everything. Right?
Yes. Please, before you go to seek help.
Yeah.
Just in case you feel you'll be more better when you talk to somebody about it. Please seek professional help.
Yeah.
Don't say Angelica, your street, then the whole street will know that this
very
touch
important.
You and not traumatized.
Very
seek
important.
Professional help where you know it's confidential. You know, someone you know that when you express yourself, when you talk to them about things that hurt you in the past, you know it's confidential. No third party. It's very important. Don't say I said seek help. Then you go and tell your mother, you tell your brother, one neighbor, and traumatize them with your story. I don't tell you.
And because they also need to heal them too. They want to tell somebody else your story. And the cycle goes on. And then one day you're sitting in your house and then they're like, how is that auntie now? And you'll be wondering, how did your story become community?
She didn't say, no, I guess not.
So please, as much as you know, I'm very confrontational. Again, I'm very vocal. You guys know this about me. I'm very, very vocal. When I don't like something, I express it. But I also do not tell everybody what I think should be secret, because there are boundaries around what another person tells me. They're also bound because the person you are sharing some of these confidential things with, they also have their own boundaries. And they have the things too that will choke them. So please, as you try to seek help, like I said, I seek professional help. She seek professional help. She's a psychologist though. So please, as you try to seek help, remember, there's a help, there's gist. If you gist your friend have a right to gist other people. It's not everybody that understands boundaries.
Your story will be flying.
Do you understand what I mean? So, but all in all, this video is to tell us that we are all walking around with trauma. The only difference is that there are levels to the trauma.
Yeah.
Some people have been carrying this baggage from when they were young. And it's affecting you right now. You are not fine. You are not okay. You tell everybody you are fine. You go every day looking like you are okay, but you are not okay. Accept that you are not okay, and it is not normal for you to behave the way you are behaving. Try and accept that, address it, and seek help.
True.
I think that's all we have for you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If you haven't subscribed yet, please, I beg you. It doesn't take anything from you. It's 5 naira you're not giving me. Just click on that subscribe button. Please like the video. Liking it means that you're telling YouTube that, yo, this thing I just heard, it makes sense. Please. If you also have 1 or 2 things to share, please tell us in the comment section. If you have an attachment style that you think that is as a result of your trauma, tell us as well. If you agree with what Ogechi has said, let us know. If you don't agree with anything either of us have said as well, let us know in the comment section, because this is how we help each other grow. Thank you again, and see you next week. Bye-bye.